Hey,
Who are you?
George. How you doing?
All right.
Good. How about a beer or something?
Okay.
All right.
We in space?
Yeah, it sure looks like it. Look at those stars out there. Starry, starry night. That's an old song.
Mm.
I think it was by Don McLean, the guy that sang American Pie.
Oh, yeah? Well, thank you, sir.
Yes.
May I have a line?
Oh, definitely. Don't mind the hands.
Okay.
Your hand. So yeah.
What you doing? Where you at? Who you with? You are now tuned into the Heavy is the Crowd podcast. I'm your host, D.L. Malone. The artist, Most Blind. The brand, DelTha510. It's also the Cash App if you want to throw your boy a buck. That's DELTHA 510. Let's go. Shout out to my main man, number 5, for blessing me with the beat. I first want to start by saying that I've been given a foundation, a resource, and a platform to express my thoughts and opinions based upon my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this life. All men were created equal in my belief, but we don't think, nor are we all treated equally. And my intent is to gain and deliver knowledge to those in earshot. Shout out to all my podcast pioneers prior to my arrival. Shout out to all my loyalists and extremists. And shout out to all my day ones in the last days. Heavy is the crowd. With my main man, George.
It's a great introduction. I like it.
Thank you.
It reaches to the masses,
Because heavy is the crowd.
the population. Crowd is heavy.
We in space. Oh no.
Sometimes space is a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm.
It's unimaginable, mysterious, uncontrollable. We don't always want control. We don't always need control. We shouldn't always seek control.
Yeah.
Yes, some self-control is good. We need that. But we need mystery. We need the mystique
Space.
of space. The crowd is heavy.
Heavy is the crowd. So, we're here now. Got plenty of space, plenty of opportunity to express our thoughts. I enjoy the weather. I think it's right on time.
Springtime is really a budding season. It's a budding time. We're starting to see daffodils. Warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
It was near 70 today. Definitely in the 60s. We're hitting 60s.
Yoga pants.
Yoga pants. You can work on the truck in the driveway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any mechanical work really outdoors.
Shout out to all my people that work on cars, work on their own cars, can change their own tire. You know what I'm saying? Fix their blinker fluid.
Definitely.
Oh, y'all caught on late.
Yeah, we got March Madness going on.
March Madness.
Monday night.
You do a bracket? I didn't do no bracket.
I didn't do a bracket. I was rooting for UConn. You know, I'm from Connecticut. I root for my UConn Huskies.
Yeah. UConn, huh?
UConn. It's always been UConn. Growing up in Connecticut.
Yeah. I grew up in Shaker Heights. Tell me more about Connecticut. Shaker Heights, Ohio. Shout out to all my people in Ohio. Shout out to all the people in Connecticut.
Yeah, Shaker Heights. I've heard of Shaker Heights. It's near Cleveland.
It is Cleveland.
It is Cleveland? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
South side down the way.
Okay. And the Shakers were to what I know, or what I think I've learned, is that the Shakers were a certain type of people, a unique people, a unique population that had their own habits and customs, which you probably know about. I don't know the details.
I mean, not so much the details, but I've had an opportunity to grow up as an adolescent in the area, and they took us on field trips that allowed us to get some of the culture. I mean, we was eating oatmeal cookies and out there in wooden pavilions, you know, next to trees and creeks, you know, and they would teach us a couple things in the school system. I think they let us do like archery with the Quakers, because they was the Shaker Quakers or something like that.
Right. A religious
Quakers.
group, definitely.
Yes,
A religious group.
yes. I want to say like it had a style like the Mormons, but I don't know what that whole
Interesting.
all that works with. You know, I don't know what they got to do.
Yeah, most religious groups are unique and distinct in a certain way, with a common denominator of Jesus Christ, of course.
And most of them, I mean, not the way in Quran, but
Right. That's what I was saying. Most of these Christian groups that we find in America historically.
yeah,
And I grew up in New England, which is also
heavy red state.
heavy red state, but colonial-wise,
One of the first 13.
yeah, one of the original 13.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Delaware was the first colony, if I remember correctly, my history. But Connecticut was like, I believe, in the top 5.
Yes, I agree.
And you had religious groups all over. Well, I mean, the Pilgrims, of course, settled first in Massachusetts Bay Colony. So yeah, they were called colonies then, not states.
Yeah,
And
first 13 colonies.
first 13 colonies or territories, and they were trying to
Consisted of the coast from from Connecticut down to Florida. I don't know if Maine was considered one yet at that time.
Maine.
That was probably like out of the 5 and 10. Like it wasn't the first 5. It was somewhere between 5 and 10, maybe, or you know.
Maybe. Now I'm remembering Rhode Island was one, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York. I believe was one of the colonies too. New York usually gets excluded in the
talk about that.
Well, in terms of New England, when people talk about New England, they usually don't talk about New York. But New York was one of the original colonies, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
And New York is right, you know, next to Connecticut.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's just, you know, it's just how I grew up. I grew up with kind of like a patriotic, you know, New England's got this patriotic culture, historic culture.
Yeah.
You know, you've got fife and drum corps, and you've got, you know, like if you go to a Patriots game, a New England Patriots game, they serve you clam chowder. You know, that's
clam. You was talking about that. We'll get back into that, but just so the people at home know, people on Earth, the people on Earth realize, because we in space right now.
We're in space.
We in space. So, the first original 13 colonies were Delaware, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Massachusetts Bay Colony, which included Maine.
Okay.
They divided it later. New Jersey, Georgia, Connecticut, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, Virginia, New York, North Carolina, and Rhode Island.
Right.
Some Providence plantations.
Right.
But that clam chowder though, he was speaking highly of it.
Well, yeah, clams is really, clams are kind of my favorite food.
Hold up, my beer's floating away. Hold up.
I see some suds.
Yeah. So yeah, that clam chowder though. I've never had clam.
Yeah, clams, I really, I
You think they serve clam in space?
Clams in space? Well, they probably float around, you know. Like, everything floats in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their favorites. It's, each person has their favorites, no matter what subject you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Food, beverage. That's part of our nature, our structure. It's anthropological to have favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody has their favorite food or their favorite wine or their favorite sports
nutritional
team
consumption.
Yeah. It's how we live. It's how we breathe. I mean,
That's the American way.
that's the American way. People have their favorite
taste first, nutrition later.
Yeah, and then people have their favorite places to go. I mean, again, the term favorite is anthropological. It's theological in a way where it's part of each and every human being's structure. So, I mean, if we get into theology, we have to talk about.
So let's first, before we get into talking about theology, why don't you help me understand the separation now that I'm floating above this planet and what us humans on Earth have to be guided by. Why don't you help me understand first the difference between someone being religious and someone just being a theologian?
Okay, well, yeah, theologians basically, I consider myself a theologian, and theologians basically do theology, which is they do this thinking for themselves without a religion necessarily, okay?
Yeah.
Now, they can stay in the bounds of religion in terms of, like...
Principles?
Yeah, principles, moralities, laws, I mean, the Ten Commandments or whatever. Common ground, natural law, because, we don't want to break laws. But, I mean, theologians basically are in wonderment. They awe the universe. They awe creation.
Yeah.
Awe meaning A-W-E, awe. They're in
Yeah.
awe. And they develop kind of like these thoughts, these truths of what's common for all of us, each of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I mentioned the word favorite. Each of us has a favorite. Okay, there's another one.
And that other word, what was that? Anthropological?
Anthropological, which is anthropological applies to humans. It's part of each and every one of us. It's a structure within each and every one of us that has commonality.
Yeah.
What do we share that's common?
Right.
Common truth for all of us.
We all like to eat.
We all like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of my favorites that I do when I do theology is think, believe, know. Each and every one of us as human beings thinks, we have thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
we believe in something,
Yeah.
okay, and we know something. And usually our knowledge is based on our experience
Yeah.
or what people have taught us, okay?
Yeah.
But a lot of us are in a sphere, the sphere of the human brain where a lot of times we're just thinking about something and we don't really necessarily know.
Right.
Or we believe and we don't necessarily know.
Right.
That's the way our sphere of the mind works.
Okay.
And theology attempts to basically search for truth, look for truth.
As opposed to just following a religion.
Yeah.
It's just searching for truths.
Yeah. I think when you do an examination, you're searching for meaning.
Yeah.
And there's a good book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It was the very first theological book that I read. Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp during the Holocaust,
All right.
during World War II, and he was a prisoner, a Jewish prisoner.
All right.
And he wrote a book about his experiences, and basically his book was about how he survived in terms of living instead of giving up. He saw those around him just kind of like saying, this is the end,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the end of my life,
Yeah.
because of the brutality, the starvations. But he looked for something to live for. He looked for goals.
And what area
Goals.
of the world was this going on at?
This was, I believe, it was in one of the European concentration camps.
Okay.
Austria, I believe,
All right.
or Poland, one of those.
All right.
Which had a lot of the concentration camps in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, is a very common book, and a lot of therapists, behavioral scientists use it for people with depression.
Okay.
That have depression because it teaches people to establish goals. You know, like if you're depressed,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how do you get out of that? Well, you have to really look for something, look forward to something, establish goals.
Right.
What do you want to accomplish in life, rather than just sleep all day. Just
lay around and be lethargic.
Yeah, lethargic.
What was the
and
author?
I've gone through that. I've experienced that myself. I mean, you know.
We all go through that physically
Yeah.
at periods of time. That's just the human element.
Right.
What was the author entitled?
The author was Viktor Frankl, Frankl, I believe.
Okay.
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
Maybe with an E at the end, but
Yeah.
I know if you search for the book.
I'm sure if they say it right in Google, it'll pop up.
Yeah, Man's Search for Meaning. That's the title of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great book. I mean, they could really make a movie out of that book. It's so great. But it was my very first book of theology in my 20s. I mean, this was before I even went to college.
Yeah. So that was the basis of everything. Did they make you write reports and such on that individual?
Well, no, I was before I.
Because let me back up here,
okay.
because a lot of people don't know, because we're too far into it. Like you acquired education at Franciscan University. Shout out to Franciscan University for doing what they do. I like the ice skating rink. We need a roller skating rink in the city too,
Definitely.
but we'll get to that sooner or later.
Yeah.
All right, heavy is the crowd.
Heavy is the crowd. The crowd is heavy.
I think that along the way, you've acquired a lot of knowledge in books. Okay, from that schooling system.
Yeah,
What did you get? You got a master's?
A master's degree in theology. My undergrad degree. Well, before you get a master's degree, you have to have a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And.
So you got 2 bachelors to make a master's?
No. You only need 1 bachelor's to get a master's. I actually started with a 2-year school,
Okay.
which is an associate's degree, like you see at Eastern Gateway.
Yes.
I started with a school like that.
Shout out EGCC.
Yeah, I actually went to a 2-year college called Hartford State Technical College.
Okay.
Just straight out of high school.
All right.
And I took.
That's a community you say a technical college?
Yeah, they call it a technical college. I believe you would.
Like a vocational school.
Yeah, I believe it would be considered. If you were going to define it, probably like a vocational college, a 2-year vocational college.
Yeah.
And where you major into something, like they had civil engineering. I was a civil engineer structure.
Yeah.
You could also major in civil engineering highways, but they had mechanical engineering, electrical engineering.
Right.
I think it was just before maybe the computers.
Did you ever hear of that at a school called DeVry? DeVry. It was DEVRY.
Sounds familiar.
DeVry.
Sounds familiar.
I don't know. It just made me think of a college like that. I don't think it exists anymore, but it was something that was going on. But anyway, back to your the education that you acquired.
I should say this.
So when they taught you this, were they keeping the same how you feel about it now? Is that of an influence that you got from what they taught you?
I don't believe so. No, I believe that it was developed on my own with my own personal relationship with God.
Okay.
Before I came here, way before I came to Steubenville, Ohio.
All right.
And I'm talking about in the 70s.
Yeah. So you was talking about Hartford. You started off at Hartford.
Well, yeah, I should
Technical.
say this. One of the things I learned in my life, and remember, our lives are all different, and we all have gifts and different strengths and everything. But one of the things I learned in high school was that I had a gift for learning and accomplishing, like I don't know, just it was more than just getting good grades. I had a knack just for learning,
Right.
vocabulary, whatever you want to, whatever subject matter. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, I didn't know it at the time though. I didn't know it in high school because I was focused on like sports and having a good time with my friends and work. I work part time and so I didn't know my gifts. I didn't have any kind of self awareness of myself. Okay, And most high school kids don't, really. I mean...
even into your college life.
Yeah, even into your college life. So, and anyway, so I went to the 2-year college, and, you know, it wasn't easy as high school, but I mean, I graduated, and then I worked for some, and then I developed this personal relationship with God, and basically that was a springboard to get here to Steubenville.
Now, that relationship that you formed, was it church influence at all? Did you grow up in the church?
Well, the truth about the church was that I was raised with a certain religion, but I was never forced to go by my parents. You know, I was basically free to choose when I went to church, when I you know, if I didn't want to go, like,
and
this,
it was optional.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a child, like grade school or whatever, you know, we had to go. Okay, and that was good because it forms you. It forms you and
discipline,
gives you boundaries, and which are necessary.
Helps you get you an idea of like what kind of morals you want to have moving forward.
But then high school, I wasn't really forced, so I could go if I want, and you know, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. But but I had an awareness after high school, and that was what kind of made me more serious about my relationship with God. And you know, I understand that people are searching for this type of meaning, and I would continue. I would say I hope people continue to search.
Absolutely. Because
that's part of our nature. That's part of who we are as people. We have this unique ability as human beings to search. You know, animals don't have that.
And we're looking for the God within us.
We're looking for truth. I would say we're looking for truth. I would say and I'm not just talking about truth in the invisible. You know, I'm not just talking about that truth. Like,
well, but there's more. But
we're looking for truth in the visible too.
True.
Like we're looking like which politician is honest and truthful.
Right. None of them.
I mean, you know, we do this. I mean, every day probably. Like, how honest is this car that I'm driving? You know, I mean, how good is it? How good is this vehicle? How good is my computer? How good? You know, we do this with products. We do this with people. You know, like I said, as consumers.
Yes.
You know what we're buying.
Right.
So we're searching for truth, whether it's visible or invisible. That's my point.
Right.
And again, that's theological. That's anthropological. It's part of us. It's part of who we are.
Yeah. And
we should continue that journey. Really, my thesis is basically journey theology. That's basically, I believe that everybody has journey theology. Everybody's on a journey, and they're learning every day about something, about their relationships, about their loved ones, their significant people or persons in their lives. You know, each person is on a journey, and it's personal. It can be interpersonal. They share it with others. Fine. But I mean, there is this deep journey that each of us has, and we do reflect on it. A lot of us, maybe when we, maybe in the nighttime, you know, when we're ready to retire and go to sleep, we might think about it, because that seems to be the time where we're, like space here. You know, that seems.
I'm spaced out right now, and you dropping me all this knowledge. Like, I'm spaced out. Yeah, go ahead.
But I mean, there's times I think this nighttime
I'm floating.
Is kind of a reflection time. It's a meditation time, a contemplation time. People might be more apt to pray at that time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Like, you know, and I'll keep it simple. God, you know, thank you for my life. Thank you for this day. You know, what do you have for me tomorrow? You know,
the food that you eat. You know what I'm saying? For the pillow that you was able to lay your head down on.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. Or problems. You know,
or problems.
Like just trying to sort them out.
Yeah.
God,
But I guess
how do I solve this? What do I do in this situation?
But I think before that, we were supposed to do, like we said at first, like, hey, while the good is going on, we're supposed to praise that. Don't just come to him with problems.
Right.
We're supposed to praise all the good things that's going on,
Right.
even if it's minuscule.
Definitely.
Hey, nothing happened today. At least I didn't get killed. Shit,
Right.
thank God.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where one of the things that I learned in theology in terms of subject matter was that there's four types of prayer.
Okay.
And you touched on two of them already. Praise, you praise God.
Right.
You thank God,
Right.
which you touched on, and then you tell God, like
Confess to him.
you confess to him. God, I'm sorry for this. What happened with this prayer? You know?
Yeah. Like believing, like, hey, this is where I went wrong, God. I'm trying to make it right with you, but it's not. You're not with a person in a cubicle talking to him through a lattice fence.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, you're talking to God.
You're
talking
talking
to
to God
God about
directly.
that, because as human beings, unfortunately, there's hurt. We hurt each other or get hurt, and hurt hurts. I mean,
Hurt people hurt people.
yeah, and
That's a fact.
it's unfortunate that exists, but it is a reality, and we have to accept that reality.
Because there's a balance of life, because that stuff's going to go on along with good.
Yeah,
And you have to learn how to balance it out.
yeah, we have to learn how to basically solve or get healed of our hurts and heal others of their hurts, help others to be healed of their hurts, and really that's what love is. That's kind of like a part of love.
Yeah.
To do that, to help and heal others, and receive. We have to be able to receive.
Absolutely.
Which is very difficult, probably for a lot of us. So anyway, that confession is the third, and then the fourth is intercession, where we ask God for something, or to help us with something, or for a solution to something.
Yes.
That's called intercession. So those are the four types of prayer. And
go over that again. You got the praise,
Thanksgiving, the confession,
the confession,
and the intercession.
Okay, now explain to me that intercession again, because I got lost in space, bro.
Now intercession.
I was like, man, I'm breathing up here. How is this happening, bro? This is wild.
Yeah, well, intercession is like asking God for something, or asking God to help someone, or to pray for someone that's in a jam.
Okay. So I'm gonna take it there. With that intercession, you said intercession.
Intercession, yeah.
Okay.
That's the fourth.
Okay, go ahead with the fifth one. Today.
There's only four that I know of. There could be five. I don't know. I only know four. I've only learned four. But I mean, I usually start with praise and thanksgiving. I usually start with that, and then that kind of leads me into the other two.
Yo, so
intercession. In my experience.
Intercession, CESS, I would believe, right?
Intercession is.
But okay, so that's like intercession is when you said it to me. Hold on, wait, because I'm trying to look at all these stars and tell you how I really feel, because I'm gaining this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So let me see if I'm on the right page with you, because you've been dropping all these stars on me, and I'm trying to catch these meteors. So hold on. So intercession is like how in Catholicism, when the person dies, you as a family member or friend, if he or she or they or it, however you want to consider them, whatever their gender, race, ethnicity, you pray for them if they didn't do enough to get into heaven, because they're sitting in purgatory. And when they sit in purgatory and enough people pray for you, you'll get out of purgatory and go to heaven. Tell me about that.
Well, intercession is basically request. You're requesting something from God. You're asking God for something, and it's a good thing, because we're not. I mean, we're weak human beings. We're frail. We need God for that reason. And yet, I mean, that's one thing. You could pray for someone that is deceased or just died.
Yeah.
For entrance in the. I think you should do it no matter how.
What religion you believe?
Yeah, I mean, all religions.
All religions don't believe in a purgatory, though.
Right. Our religions don't believe in the waiting place, or the. It's kind of a place that is like you're on your way to heaven. I mean, it's I can only describe it. I mean, obviously, I have never been there, but I mean,
Yes.
I've only learned it. But I mean, it's like we don't know who's going to go to heaven or purgatory or hell. I mean,
Yeah, and we're not supposed to tell people they're going to go to hell either.
Yeah,
I guess that's a sin too.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's in there's a scripture verse in the New Testament.
Yeah.
Where Paul says, St. Paul, that is, he's, the epistles of St. Paul, or the letters of St. Paul. Well, one of his letters, he writes that I do not judge who's going to go to heaven or hell. I don't even judge myself. So he's kind of like giving us a teaching that we should not judge where someone's going to end up. And I think that's the posture you want to take.
Yes.
God is very understanding. He's very loving. I'm sure if you pray for that person, God's going to hear your prayer.
Absolutely.
Family member, friend. I mean, even an enemy. I mean,
Yeah. Because you're not supposed to wish death upon you.
Yeah, or they call it cursing.
But there's nothing wrong with karma, right?
I don't know what karma is. Oh, karma is when you.
Karma is when you know, like, they did bad to you, so bad's gonna come back to them.
Yeah.
Instead of necessarily believing and saying the phrase, they said, "Vengeance is mine.
I will repay it, saith the Lord."
Right.
That's a scripture verse.
Yes. What scripture is that? Can you go? But that's that's in the Bible though.
Oh, that's in the New Testament as well.
Yes.
I believe it's in the Gospels, but I could be wrong. Like, I've heard all the verses, but I've heard like 90% of the verses in the Bible. I don't want to say 100%. I mean, I'm not perfect. But I mean, I've heard them, but I don't know exactly where they are. But that is a verse.
So what can you add to my comment of saying, do you know about anything about that? How you're supposed to pray for the people in purgatory in order to get them out? In Catholicism, primarily?
Well, the thing is, I don't know who's in purgatory, but I usually just pray.
But that was just like one of the guidelines of.
I pray for the dead, basically.
Boom.
I just basically focus on the dead.
Right.
Okay. Or, I mean, this may sound weird, but I mean, if one of your family members dies, they're in another place, obviously.
Yeah.
And you could still talk to them. They could hear you. Maybe they will. Maybe they can hear you. Maybe they
can't.
They can't. But there is a comfort in that. There is a.
Maybe they could see you. Have you ever seen that movie?
Exactly. Maybe
Interstellar. Have you ever seen the movie Interstellar?
Never saw it.
Okay, Interstellar has a situation like that where he's caught up in space so far in the galaxy. Like, we're just floating out here. I really don't know where we're at, but I know Earth's around the corner somewhere. But I'm saying in Interstellar, the father takes off in space and never comes back, and he allegedly dies or whatever, or something of the sort, and he gets to come back. He ends up coming back somehow through a dream or a vision back to her when she's legitly 80 years old, like the daughter or something like that. It's real deep, but it's explaining how, like, the contact you can have between the contact that you have, the things that you can't see.
Yeah.
But not to be in religion though, but like I said, that purgatory stuff, is there any truth to that about the guideline being you're supposed to pray them out of?
Well, yeah, I think basically.
So you're just praying for the dead.
I generally just think of the dead as a whole because I don't know who's in purgatory.
Yeah.
So I basically just think of the dead and maybe pray for that person.
Right.
Or people. And I don't know where they're at, but I could still pray for them. And they could basically be with God and see my life on earth. Mm-hmm. Like when you're with the Lord in heaven, you can see what's going on earth. I mean, and that's biblical. That's in Scripture. That there's a verse that says we're a spectacle on earth. We're a spectacle to those in heaven. And I don't know. It's kind of beautiful. I mean, the Bible is a beautiful book. I mean, but it's more than a book. It's a different type of. it's a different type of book because it's kind of a living book. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's
Because
it's
when
kind
you
of
say it's a living book because you can relate all the stuff to present day. That's
Yeah.
when you say that, that's my definition of it. All that stuff you can apply to present day and seems like a formidable forecast for what's upcoming.
Yeah, and I think you always go back to the Bible. I mean, there's verses that seem to, like we go back to, they seem to be living. They seem never to die.
Right.
So the Bible has kind of an ontological, I would say, kind of a ontological means study of being. Ontology means a study of being.
Okay.
B-E-I-N-G. Okay, being, and like an angel
Yeah.
is one particular type of being,
Yeah.
totally spirit. A human being like us is a type of being. We have body and soul.
Yeah.
And then there's Jesus Christ, who has he has two wills: a human will, a divine will,
Mm-hmm.
and a human intellect and a divine intellect. Okay, so his being is a lot different than us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is not easy to explain and not easy to understand.
Yeah, because I want to ask you about Nephilim. How you feel about Nephilim?
I don't know what Nephilim means.
You don't know about the Nephilim, the giants that they said they came to Earth and reproduced with the women on Earth, and that's what created.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of anything like that. I mean, you're basically bringing something up that
Okay,
I don't know
so
about.
the Nephilim
I've
are.
never heard about.
Have you heard of in the world, legitly, bones being found of giants, giant humans, even some with cone heads?
Never heard of that. Where did you read that?
Well,
You don't mind me asking.
I mean, it's just Googleable. Let's say that.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
If this is Googleable information, whether you want to believe it or not, it's a resource to, to delve into. Pun intended. So.
Right.
There was with the pyramids. So okay, before I go too far into the Nephilim, can I ask you your opinion about the pyramids? What was their purpose? What was their purpose?
Well, the pyramids, from my understanding,
From your understanding,
the pyramids
through theology, and then you can give your if it's different, like you know what I'm saying. Put that together. Put that together.
Yeah.
Omnipotence.
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 Anyway, well, the pyramids, to my understanding, and there's people that have studied the pyramids in the Egyptian culture, and they know much more than I do. But I mean, the pyramids basically were structures that pointed to God, okay, or a being, okay, that was mysterious, that was God, and of course it was their burial. It was the burial. It was the tomb, really.
I don't believe it was a tomb. They didn't find any.
Well, mummies.
They didn't find nothing like that in there. They didn't find any bodies
mummies
in there. Now, when I speak of the pyramids, I
Okay.
speak specifically of the Giza and the two that's attached to it.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe we should pick that up in the next session.
But go ahead with your thought process while I look it up. I'm saying about
Okay.
your belief about this pyramid. Go ahead.
Okay. I believe the pyramids were tombs that pointed to the sky or to the heavens. And, that's where they put, like
There were specific people that was
Kings.
buried in there? Okay, the kings?
like Ramsey, there are different ones. I mean, he's mentioned in the Bible.
Ramsey?
Yeah.
King of Egypt?
We're talking about when Moses was living. Like, this is Old Testament stuff.
Okay, boom, talk to me. Refresh me.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should do that next session.
Okay, yeah, we can do that next session.
Yeah, because that's kind of like deep.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's specifically, go down that
That's
rabbit
deep.
hole.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Connecticut, UConn, you said they got defeated?
UConn got beat in the very first game by Maryland in the tournament.
Yeah. What's Ohio State doing?
Ohio State got beat the first game too, as far as I know. They got upset. What's your team?
In college? I prefer Ohio State.
Right,
I'm
okay.
all Ohio everything. And there was a time where I was a Texas Longhorns fan when Kevin Durant went there. I was a fan of him in college.
Interesting.
But besides that, I really didn't.
So you remember Kevin Durant in college? That's
Yes,
amazing.
and then him getting drafted to the Seattle Supersonics. They only lasted what, a year?
Yeah, the Supersonics.
Yeah, they lasted a year.
Yeah.
And then they got moved to Oklahoma, and they got all them stars, and it didn't work out. They went to the finals. Excuse me. They got beat by
That's right.
Miami, wasn't it? Whatever team LeBron was on. Was
I
it
don't know.
Cleveland?
I don't think Oklahoma ever made it to the finals. with
Yes, they
Durant.
made it against the finals. Yes. They made it to the finals.
I didn't know
Oklahoma made
that.
it to the finals with Durant and
I did.
Ibaka and
Oh well.
Harden and Westbrook.
I always thought they got beat before they made it to the finals.
I thought they made it to the finals.
Well, you
No?
could be right. I always thought I've never
That's
they had
a-
Westbrook. I know they had Westbrook and Durant at the same time.
and Ibaka.
Ibaka, yeah, great team.
Great team.
Oh, they had-
Harden.
Yeah, they had Harden.
He's doing his thing this year. How about them Nets?
They had it all. When you think about Oklahoma, really had a dream team too, in a way.
Yeah. Oklahoma Thunder. City Thunder. Let's see what it says. Oklahoma Thunder Finals. Yes, 2012 they lost to Miami.
They did.
Yeah, 4-1.
Wow.
That was like, because remember Miami first lost to Dallas. Okay, they first lost to Dallas.
I remember that when Dallas won.
And then they went back to back. They beat whoever we just said, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then they beat somebody else. Okay, and they got their back to back. And then that last year, that fourth year, they lost to San Antonio.
Okay, so Miami was in it 4 times.
4 times in a row.
Okay.
The first time was against the Dallas Mavericks. They lost.
Right. I
The
remember
next 2 years, they won back to back
Okay.
against the Thunder
Oh.
and
Okay. San Antonio? No, they lost to San Antonio.
yeah, they lost to San Antonio the fourth year. Who was their back to back on? Ooh, pop quiz. Let us know in the comment section. DelTha510 is the Cash App.
Could it have been Dallas again?
No, it wasn't Dallas. Dallas made it that one time.
No, I know. They didn't make it twice then. Dallas.
No.
Okay.
It might have been could it have been San Antonio? San Antonio went back to back and then they lost and then they won.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. San Antonio lost, then they won.
Might have been.
I think it was San Antonio because
You got me wondering.
I think they came really close to winning it the first time, but they lost. But then the next year they won it. I'm going to say San Antonio. Boy, that wasn't long ago. How do we forget?
2015 NBA Finals.
This is within 10 years.
6 years.
Yeah, I know. Usually you remember things like that within a decade.
It was. No, that was the Warriors and the Cavaliers. That's when they started getting popping. So it'll be the 14. It was the Heat and the Spurs, yep. So it was a back-to-back thing.
Spurs were back to back, and Miami was back to back.
Yeah, but Miami won, and San Antonio lost, then won. Shout out to all the teams. Shout out to LeBron for doing his thing. Get well soon because he has a high ankle sprain. If you didn't see already, but looking down on the earth, I think that's the earth down there. Yeah.
LeBron also is a part owner of my favorite baseball team, the
And
Boston
how
Red Sox.
that's only a money move, because believe me when I tell you, as an Ohio native, he don't care about no Boston. That's just a pure money move, and you know what? Hey,
I'm glad he is. I like that.
yeah,
I
man,
like
he just pushed the envelope again. You know what I'm saying? Because where he's from and how he came. Like he shouldn't be dealing anything with that team. But he said, "No, I want part of that."
You're right. It's probably a business move. But
All the business.
He'll definitely be watching Red Sox games and wearing a Red Sox hat.
Oh, I can't. Oh man, the pictures of seeing him in a. Oh man, that's.
Maybe he'll make some trips to Boston. Who knows?
Oh yeah, you'll see him in the club joint, rooting him like he was for the Indians when they went to the finals, or the World Series, or the conference finals, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think LeBron James will always be an Ohioan. I think that's first in his heart. And
where are they going to put a statue first of him at?
Cleveland, definitely. I believe in Cleveland.
Do you think they'll put a statue there first?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll get a statue in all three cities?
I don't know about that. I don't know about L.A. and I don't know about Miami.
But what if he wins this year?
Well, he won last year.
Because listen, you saying he can't get one in L.A., but he's going to get one in Cleveland, and that's the same amount of rings.
I think there'll be a statue.
It was just as hard.
Just started winning Cleveland? Or
It was
LA?
just as hard to win that first ring with the Lakers as it was to win that one ring with Cleveland.
Well, you'd have to ask LeBron James.
I mean, they've asked him. They've asked him.
They have?
I'm saying it's just, he probably likes the one that he got in Cleveland more.
See, sometimes I think the very first championship is the hardest. Like when he first won in Miami, I think that might be the hardest. Because remember, he didn't win the very first one.
Yeah, he didn't win.
I mean, he's been in a lot of championships, though, that he lost before he won, right?
I mean, he went with the what, 9 straight, 8 straight, 9 straight?
But didn't the Cavs go to the finals when he...
4 times in a row?
And he lost. I mean, didn't he
All
lose?
of them except one?
Yeah. I mean...
He went 4 times.
Yeah.
Against the Warriors. They battled against each other for 4 years straight, the Warriors and the Cavs. Yeah.
Right.
Ain't that wild? They battled 4 years straight. They going at each other, every finals, and he lost all of them except he won what? He won the second one.
Was it the second one?
What was the second one?
See, I thought it was.
Because Kyrie left.
I thought it was the last one. Well,
No, you know what? It might have been the last one. No, that's okay.
I thought it was the last one. Then he left, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, maybe it was the second. Yeah, he had there was a reason why he left, and maybe it was because they lost
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland. Have you lived up there? Have you been up there? Have you visited?
I've been to Cleveland. I've been to
Shout out to my Clevelanders.
I've actually, let's see. Now I saw Larry Bird play wherever Cleveland played back then, but it was outside of Cleveland. The venue was outside of Cleveland.
Yeah.
I saw Larry Bird play against the Cavs twice up there.
What?
There was a name. I can't think of the name of that.
I mean, was it an old arena that was in the spot that the new arena is at? Quicken Loans?
No, it was outside. I don't. It's not the same. I think they built a new one. This was the old one, but it wasn't in the heart of Cleveland. This was kind of like on the outskirts.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of grew up. Believe it or not, before I was a Patriots fan, I was a Browns fan in Connecticut.
Yeah?
In Connecticut, yeah.
Right, because they was going through that battle with the Browns.
I love the Browns.
With the Broncos.
That was out here. I was a Browns fan, yeah, at that time too.
Yeah.
But when the Browns changed, when they moved or whatever,
went to Baltimore. And
I went to the Patriots. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't the same. But I rooted for Leroy Kelly and Jim Brown and all the Browns. I love the Browns.
Have you been to the Hall of Fame?
Paul Warfield was a Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been to the Hall of Fame.
Quarterback. Warfield.
Warfield was a receiver. A wide receiver. Tremendous wide receiver.
Wide receiver, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did the long routes.
Yeah.
And then he went to Miami, the Dolphins. He won two rings with Miami.
I want to say it was him at Miami.
He ended up in Miami, the Dolphins.
But he didn't win. Dan Marino didn't get no rings.
No, he didn't.
But he played with him though.
He won with Bob Greasy in the '70s.
But what was it, that undefeated season?
Yeah.
Okay,
that is
so
correct. Yeah.
and so his latter years was played with Dan Marino. You telling me?
No. He
Paul Warfield.
His career was before Dan Marino.
Well, who was the one with Mark Clayton? And it was him and somebody.
That was Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. Mark Clayton, and there was another one. They had two dope wide receivers,
Yeah.
and they showed video of them. I remember being young, and they were showing VHS video of them running and jumping over cars.
They were short guys. Yeah. They were short receivers, but they were fantastic. But I can't think of the other one's name besides Clayton. But I remember Dan Marino. I mean, I've been alive since the first Super Bowl started. I mean, I remember the very first Super Bowl. I was a kid, but I watched it. You know, and Green Bay was they were the dynasty then.
Yeah.
And then
they went to the first Super Bowl, didn't they? Green Bay was the first.
Green
Super
Bay
Bowl?
was the first. They were in the first two Super Bowls, and they won them back to back.
Yeah.
And you know that's how Vince Lombardi got famous and well known because of that, and the way he coached and his attitude, and then so you had the Green Bay dynasty at the beginning.
Yeah.
Then you had the Dolphin dynasty.
Yeah.
They had the perfect season in the '70s.
Yeah.
Then you had the Steeler dynasty.
Right.
They won like I think 4 in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then
Didn't Minnesota get a couple somewhere in between?
Minnesota lost 4. They never won a Super Bowl.
So you're not talking about the Bills. You're talking about
Bills lost 4 too. The Bills and the Vikings have lost 4 Super Bowls each.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, that has to be hard. I mean, you know, like losing 4.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got 4 chances. You got 4 chances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 4 chances. You can't pull one of them off. Like, hey, you know.
So after the Steelers, I think we had the Cowboy dynasty.
Yeah.
Well, no, we had San Francisco dynasty, then the Cowboy dynasty.
No. You had the Cowboy dynasty before the San Francisco dynasty because you had Staubach. And one of the players that played for the line for the Dallas Cowboys was my next door neighbor growing up in Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Wow.
And he lived so meagerly, but it was still healthy, but it was like meager, like you could never tell. I don't know how much he's getting paid, but shout out to that dude. I forgot what his name was, but he had a son named Skip. I think his dad's name was Randy something.
Wow.
Yeah, he played for the Dallas Cowboys during that time.
But you know, getting back to the Browns, the Ohio Browns, the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
When I was in, I'm trying to think, 7th or 8th grade, we had to do state reports.
Okay.
And I chose Ohio. True story. My family can verify this. I chose Ohio, living in Connecticut, Middletown, Connecticut. And I wrote to the Cleveland Browns for information.
Okay.
And they sent me a team photo.
Now this is when you was a kid, and this is well before like Belichick took over.
Oh yeah, way before.
Well before that.
I'm talking about the '60s, man. I've been around. I'm ancient history.
All right. Got the recipe for dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're made from dirt. You know that, right?
Yeah.
We're made from the minerals.
Yeah. Carbon. We're all carbon.
Yeah, we have all the minerals. I mean.
Inside us. Now let's talk about minerals because you don't think that minerals exist on other planets that we don't know of? Because in the periodic table we have.
Yeah, I believe there's other minerals on other planets, other elements. We could say
other elements.
An element basically is the original. You can't, like a compound is.
Is 2 elements combined together.
Yeah. You get
2 or more.
It's a different material, but an element is like it can't be divided. That's like original, like silver.
Right.
There's no such thing. Like silver is an element.
Right, and once you get so far up in the periodic table, when you start removing things from it, it just creates an element from prior. You create ones like you add to it, and it creates so much. But when you take them away, you get
Yeah, when you break everything down, they become elements.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Like carbon dioxide isn't an element. It's a combination.
It's a combination. CO2.
Yeah.
Yes.
But carbon is an element. Oxygen is an element.
And it's 2 parts oxygen.
Yeah. And you can't break that down. Hydrogen.
Okay. You can't break CO2 down. You can't take the carbon away from the O2 and just have oxygen and just have carbon.
What I meant is you can't break an element down. You can break.
Yeah, right.
You can break carbon dioxide down. You can break water down, H2O.
But if
hydrogen and oxygen. But you can't break down hydrogen. You can't break down oxygen. Oxygen, it's.
But when you add.
It's indivisible. Oxygen is indivisible. I think that's the term you use, along with hydrogen. Elements are indivisible. You can't divide them. You can't break them down. You can't break down elements. You can't break down gold. You can't break down silver.
But when you add like an extra electron or something to that element and make it
Compound. You make it a compound.
If it doesn't form any type of other element, isn't that like, it's like an isotope? But what about isotopes? Because isotopes is those.
An isotope, from my understanding, man, and we're going back to chemistry class, 10th grade, an isotope is a charged compound.
Okay, they got too many electrons in it.
Yeah, it's charged either positive or there's only two charges. It's either positive or negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Now we're going to chemistry.
We're going to I think we're going to stop at chemistry. Can we stop at chemistry?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know, we'll be back.
We'll
and
be
it's
back.
going to be more.
We'll be back.
You know what I'm saying? We floating in space. We got to go get our breath.
It's about content, quality, not quantity. So we'll be back.
Hey, man, you got to work to eat and hustle to live. I'll holler.